Rare coin collecting. Discover real value and history in every coin.
Some coins are so common that people barely give them a second glance, yet some of those ordinary coins carry stories that can shock even experienced collectors. The 1983 20 pence is exactly that kind of coin. You've probably held one before without realizing that this little piece of metal has appeared in listings reaching thousands of pounds. And no, that's not an exaggeration. There are sellers who have placed this coin on the market for as high as £2,682 and even extreme listings pushing £7,372 for certain circulated examples. That's the part that catches everyone off guard. A tiny coin from everyday life being offered at prices that sound unreal. But it's not the metal that makes it special. Its value comes from scarcity, age, and survival. Over time, coins disappear. They get scratched beyond recognition, end up in machines, get tossed aside, or simply vanish into drawers that nobody opens anymore. What's left, especially in great condition, becomes precious. And when collectors realize fewer clean, sharp, well-struck examples remain, the demand begins to rise quietly. That's where the magic of this coin starts. People search for the 1983 20p because it represents opportunity hiding in plain sight. Imagine going through old change or sorting forgotten jars and suddenly spotting that date. 1983. For most people, it means nothing. But for the collector who knows the market, that tiny detail can mean value. Some people list circulated versions for £103, others go as high as £450 for clean ones, and the boldest sellers post prices that jump into the thousands. It's unpredictable, and that unpredictability creates curiosity. The design itself carries meaning too. The Tudor rose, delicate but strong, sits at the center, a mark of English heritage and unity. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II reflects stability, longevity, and tradition. Even the smallest artistic choices can give a coin cultural weight, and this one carries a piece of national identity that collectors appreciate far more than most people realize. And now, as we cross that 2-minute point, the real intrigue begins. Only a limited number of early year 20p coins were produced. Some came with subtle variations that collectors continue to study. Many from 1983 were spent endlessly in the economy and have been worn down to nothing. Time is the quiet thief here. Every decade, fewer of these coins survive, especially in crisp condition. That shrinking number creates rarity, and rarity creates value. You start to wonder, how many are still out there? How many are hiding in someone's drawer, waiting to be discovered by someone who actually understands what they're holding? And here's the part that keeps treasure hunters hooked. One single coin can genuinely make a difference. A well-preserved example could bring far more than its face value. It's not guaranteed, but the possibility alone is enough to make anyone check their pockets a little more carefully. Stories exist of unexpected finds, people stumbling on rare coins that turned into a surprising source of extra cash. The idea that something so small can deliver a moment of opportunity makes the search thrilling. But everything depends on quality. Condition isn't just important, it's everything. A coin with strong edges, a clear Tudor rose, sharp lettering, and a clean portrait of the Queen can multiply in value compared to one that's scratched or dull. Collectors pay close attention to detail. That's why a typical circulated 1983 20p might only be worth £1 or £2, while a very clean one might be listed for hundreds, and a claimed rare version could be posted for thousands. It all comes down to how well the coin has survived its journey through time. So next time you come across a 1983 20 pence, don't overlook it. Hold it up to the light. Check the shine, the edges, the clarity of the design. Because hidden among millions of everyday coins, you might just find one that tells a different story, one that holds a surprising value and maybe, just maybe, changes your day in a way you never expected. Open your eyes next time you see this coin. You might glance at a 1925 Lincoln wheat cent and think it's just another old penny, but for collectors, this coin isn't quite ordinary. The S mint mark means it was struck in San Francisco, and that small letter makes a big difference, especially when paired with condition, color, and even possible minting quirks. Back in 1925, the San Francisco Mint produced around 26,380,000 of these wheat cents. While that's a sizable number, San Francisco minted coins from this era can be tougher to find in premium, uncirculated condition compared to their Philadelphia minted cousins. When we look at real auction prices, things get interesting. A 1925 Lincoln Cent graded MS62 sold at a PCGS verified auction for $129.25. Move up to MS65, Brown, BN, and another 1925 sold for $977. That shows the power of modern certification and how condition can multiply value. If you dive into different color designations, APMEX, a trusted coin dealer, lists MS65 Brown, BN, $1,050. MS64 Brown, BN, $500. These graded, higher mint state coins are where real value hides. But they're not the only way this coin becomes special. There are rarer varieties and errors that serious collectors hunt. Some things to look for include repunched mint mark, S. This is when the S punch was applied more than once, leading to a doubled or shifted mint mark. In one auction, a 1925 S in MS63, RB, sold for $1,320. Off-center strikes. These happen when the planche isn't properly aligned during striking. A 1925 S struck 10% off-center, graded MS62BN, once sold at auction for $840. Here's a breakdown of how condition tends to impact value for the 1925 S. Very worn, circulated. Common S pennies in this condition might be worth around $1 to $12, depending on how much detail is left. Almost uncirculated, a well-preserved circulated coin could start reaching tens of dollars, especially if the S is clear and the wheat stalks are well defined. Uncirculated, MS. These coins climb significantly in value. An MS63BN might bring in mid-hundreds. MS64BN and MS65 can go to $500 to $1,000 plus or more, depending on color and eye appeal. High-grade red, bright, road, or certified error varieties. These are the dream finds. When combined with specialty flaws like an S mint mark or off-center strike, value can soar. Why do collectors care so much about this year in mint mark? For a few key reasons. 1. Scarcity in high grade. While millions were made, finding them in brilliant red or top MS condition is difficult. 2. Variety potential. The S repunched mint mark is a known variety that adds serious interest. 3. Error appeal. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and planche issues can make a 1925 S very collectible. 4. Historical value. The wheat penny design is iconic, and a pretty 1925 S is not just a piece of metal, it's a piece of U.S. coin history. If you ever come across a 1925 S penny that looks sharp, good detail on Lincoln, clear S mint mark, nice color, or even a weird strike, take a moment. Photograph it carefully from both sides, compare to reference photos or variety guides, and if it's promising, consider having it graded by a trusted service. A properly certified 1925 S could be worth hundreds, or even more, depending on its grade and rarity. So next time that penny drops in your hand, don't just roll your eyes. That little S might be the key to something much bigger. Open your eyes next time you see this coin. You wouldn't expect a 2003 20 pence piece to hide a fortune, but then, treasure doesn't always sparkle like gold. At first glance, this coin is just another copper nickel 20p, 7-sided and plain, and most of them trade for just a few pounds online. But imagine a seller confidently asking £300 for one. That's a bold claim, and while it's not backed by reliable auction records, the possibility itself is enough to make collectors pause. According to trusted catalog data, the typical value of a 2003 20p is very modest. Foronum lists the range for this coin between US 41 cents and 99 cents, depending on how worn or uncirculated it is. With a mintage of 153.38 million, these coins were produced in huge numbers. That sheer supply means most examples will never be rare in the traditional sense. So why would someone put a £300 price tag on one? There are a few potential reasons, and they all come with risks. First, it might simply be over-optimistic or speculative. Some sellers list common coins very high, hoping they'll catch the eye of a novice who doesn't realize how common that date really is. There are also error coins. For example, a CUD minting mistake in the 0 digit of 2003 is listed on eBay for £21.49, not thousands. That kind of error might attract collectors, but it's not going to push a coin into 6 or even 5-figure territory. Then there's the design and condition. The coin features the classic crowned Tudor rose, an emblem of British heritage, and the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. To a collector, a piece with sharp detail, crisp edges, and a clean strike is always more appealing than one that's been clinking in till bins or spent in pockets for decades. If you stumbled upon a 2003 20p that looked nearly flawless, with no scuffs, strong lettering, and a nice luster, it might feel like a small gem in your hand. Here's a realistic breakdown of what you could expect for condition-based value, if someone was truly serious about pricing for the collector market. Typical worn, circulated, likely close to face value, or just a few pounds, given supply and demand. Uncirculated, nice condition but not graded, potentially £5 to £40, depending on eye appeal and how clean the coin is. Graded, very high mint state, may go higher, but authoritatively listing it for £300 is a stretch without proof or provenance. Error, variety coins, like the CUD mistake, can command a premium, but the example listed at £21 is much more grounded in reality than a £300 million rare 2003 20p fantasy. I checked major auction house databases, Spink, DNW, etc., for a verified sale of a standard 2003 20p, or an error variety. That actually went for hundreds of pounds, and I found nothing reliable to support a £300 plus realized price. That means anyone advertising such a high number is likely relying on hope, a misunderstood variety, or simply trying to attract attention. High asking price doesn't mean high selling price, and in coin collecting, that's an important lesson. Still, the idea that a seemingly ordinary coin might be worth more than most people assume is powerful. It's why collectors never totally ignore dates like 2003. If you ever hold one and it looks unusually good, sharp visuals, clean surfaces, strong strike, spend a moment examining it carefully. Take photos, compare it to reference coins, and, if you're serious, get it authenticated or graded. That's where potential upside could lie. So next time you find a 2003 20p in your change, don't immediately dismiss it. Tilt it in the light, examine the shape, feel the edges. You might not be holding a £300 coin, but you could be holding something more interesting than its face value suggests. Open your eyes next time you see this coin. You might not think twice when you find a shiny old penny in your pocket, but if that penny is dated 1917, you could be holding a little piece of history worth more than its face value. The 1917 Lincoln wheat cent was struck during a turbulent time, and there are several key varieties and strong collector demand that make certain examples truly special. First, the basics. There are three main mints for the 1917 penny: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia strike had a very high mintage, so most 1917 pennies in change will be from there. But the D and S mint marks are less common, and that scarcity begins to drive collector interest, especially in higher grades or special conditions. When it comes to real auction sales, some examples of the 1917 penny have commanded eye-catching amounts. A 1917 doubled die obverse, DDO, in MS65 grade sold at auction for $13,800. That doubling is a dramatic mint error and makes that coin very collectible. A 1917 Philadelphia penny in MS65 red, road, sold for $341 in a certified auction. The 1917 D, Denver, version also has strong examples. One MS65D Lincoln cent hit $3,779 in auction. And on the San Francisco side, a 1917 S penny graded MS65 Brown, BN, with CAC approval, sold for $625. But the real jump in value, the heart-stopping pieces for serious collectors, comes in rare error or condition extremes. According to expert guides, certain 1917 doubled die coins, DDO, in deep red, road, finish could reach $120,000 plus in the rarest, top-graded varieties. Even for non-error versions, A 1917S in MS65 is documented to have sold for $36,800. So how do typical values break down? Here's a practical look by condition. Very worn, circulated, average, the Philadelphia, P, versions are common. In low grades, these may only be worth a few cents to a few dollars. Better circulated, lightly worn. These could fetch more, especially for D or S mint marks. Values rise but are still modest in many cases. Uncirculated, BU. Brilliant uncirculated, common 1917 pennies in non-error mint state condition can jump into the hundreds, particularly if the luster, strike, and color are good. Error, doubled die, DDO. The real value lies here. These can reach thousands or even tens of thousands, especially for road, full red, MS grade coins. High grade, red, MS, non-error, and rare mint mark, extremely collectible, and high grades, like MS66 or MS67, can demand serious money. Why do people care so much about a 1917 penny? For several reasons. Historical significance. This coin is from the World War I era, representing early Lincoln cents. Design appeal. The wheat reverse, with two stalks, is iconic, and Lincoln's portrait gives it sentimental value. Varieties and errors. The doubled die variety is highly prized. Small die flaws, color differences, red versus brown, and mint mark scarcity make a big difference. Survivor pool. Over time, many circulated pennies wear out or get lost. The ones that remain in high grade, or unusual varieties, become more valuable. If you find a 1917 penny, especially one that looks too good to be just pocket change, don't ignore it. Examine it under good light. Look closely at the date, the letters, especially, "In God We Trust," and the wheat ears on the back. If there's any doubling, redness, or strong luster, that could be a clue you're holding something special. Considering sending it to a reputable coin grading service could drastically change its value, especially if it's the error variety. So next time a 1917 Lincoln cent lands in your hand, don't just yawn and toss it in the jar. That coin could be a hidden gem, and if it's the right variety or in the right condition, it might be worth a lot more than a penny. Open your eyes next time you see this coin. You'd be forgiven for treating a 2006 20 pence like any other bit of loose change. It's common, plain, and tucked into pockets without a second thought. But every once in a while the ordinary hides something worth noticing. Believe it or not, someone out there has placed a £93 price tag on a 2006 20p. And whether that's optimism, a claimed error, or a dealer pushing the market, the number is enough to make you pause and look closer. Most 2006 20p coins are straightforward. 7 sides, a crowned Tudor rose on the reverse, the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. Mintage was large, so the regular circulation strikes are abundant. That means the vast majority trade only for small premiums over face value when collectors are buying. In fact, in normal condition you'll usually see values measured in single pounds. But condition, context and the occasional minting oddity are the things that quietly reshape those expectations. To be clear about the market reality, I checked major auction records and reliable sale archives and found no verified auction house hammer sale showing a normal 2006 20p selling for anything like 4 or 5 figures. The highest realistic, confirmed results come from dealer listings and individual marketplace asks, not from big-name auction houses. That makes the marketplace asks important to watch. They tell you what sellers believe they can get, but they don't guarantee that anyone actually paid those figures. The £93 listing sits in that world. A high ask on a marketplace, likely tied to an error claim or particularly eye-catching description, not a confirmed, reputable auction result. As we glide toward the spot where curiosity should sharpen, think of this as the moment to pay attention. The possibilities become clearer. Error coins change the game. For 2006 there are documented varieties and defects collectors study, double strikes, die cracks, cuds and unusual planchet issues. Those anomalies, when authenticated and dramatic, are where you'll see real premiums. A modest die break or a small strike flaw might bring a modest boost. A dramatic, authenticated error can push value substantially higher. That's why the existence of a £93 ask isn't crazy. It's probably tied to an error listing or a seller who believes an anomaly exists on the piece they're offering. Condition remains the main driver for the bulk of examples. Here's a practical sense of how prices usually spread. An average circulated 2620p will trade at or close to face value, perhaps £1 to £5 depending on the buyer. An attractive circulated or borderline uncirculated example might be listed £5 to £40. Genuinely brilliant uncirculated, with strong strike and good eye appeal, can move into the £40 to £80 band on specialist marketplaces. And graded, high mint state pieces are confirmed. Dramatic errors are the ones that attract the upper tiers. That's the bracket where you can see ambitious asks like £93 appear. Proof or silver versions of the Tudor Rose 20p, completely different products, struck to proof standards or in precious metal, commonly list around £30 to £40 and occupy their own market niche. A short word of caution. Asking prices are statements of expectation, not proof of sale. Sellers will sometimes price items high to test the market or to attract attention. Authentication and provenance matter hugely, especially for error claims. If you think you've found an unusual 2620p, document it well. Photos from multiple angles, close-ups of any defects, and a second opinion from an experienced dealer or a grading service will tell you whether that £93 ask is grounded or simply hopeful. Still, there's something irresistible about the idea that a single coin could surprise you. The tiny details, a crisp edge, a clean field, an unexpected mark, are the things that flip a coin from trivial to collectible. Take a moment next time a 2620p crosses your hand. Check the lettering, the petals on the rose, the quality of the strike. If anything looks odd or unusually well preserved, make a note or ask someone who knows coins. That small moment of attention is all it takes to turn ordinary change into a discovery. Open your eyes next time you see this coin.